It's 2022. Time to work that budget. Let's go. On today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about budget, something I have never done on this channel, only because the tech that I use is not high tech, like what I did there. No, but seriously, it's not a high tech application. We're simply going to be using Excel. And how I budget and how I keep track of my debt, my savings, my business expenses is all through Excel. I know, shocking. But it works for me. And what I do and how I plan my budget is I do a zero-based budget. I'm pretty sure you've heard either of the 50-20-30, the zero budget, the paycheck. I think it's called the paycheck something. But what I'm going to show you today is how I use a zero-based budget to reverse engineer my money. So what I like to do is reverse engineer my check, which means every paycheck, instead of getting paid a certain amount and then figuring out what bills I'm going to pay with that, I do the complete opposite. I figure out all the bills, all the things I want to purchase, buy, save, spend. I figure it all out first. I figure out how much it's going to cost me to do all of those things, and then I work my hours to make that money. So again, that's reverse engineering your paycheck. And the reason why I do that now, because I'm able to get a handle on my 9 to 5, I kind of know exactly how much money I'm going to make, I'm going to need to make that money. I'm able to do that because I get paid hourly. So obviously I know how much if I work 45 hours versus 40 or whatever. Whereas if I had a more concrete salary where I wasn't getting paid by the hour and just a same amount every single 2 weeks, this wouldn't work as well unless you have another side hustle that you can control. So for example, if you have your 9 to 5 and you have a set salary of, let's say, $8,000 a month, you know that that's kind of set in stone. You can't really finagle the amounts or the hours or what you're going to get paid. But let's say you grab either a side hustle, you're coaching on the side, or you're working as a waitress somewhere. You can kind of figure out those hours, whether you're going to do 10 hours, 15, whether you're going to do 2 odd jobs to get that amount of money. So you can kind of do it that way as well if you have a set base, or if you're like me and get paid hourly. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. I'm also going to offer you guys for free on my blog post. I'm going to link it down below, the actual budget Excel sheet that I'm going to be showing and using to you guys so that you can replicate it as many times as you want and finagle those numbers and variables and fixed expenses as you see fit for yourself. So I hope that you enjoy this, and let's get into the video. All right, so let's get this show on the road. What I'm going to show you today, of course, is the way I budget. I do what is called a zero-based paycheck. I don't remember the terms, that I'll pop it up on the screen once I remember. But it's essentially that you allocate your entire money or budget to everything, meaning that at the end of your budgeting technique or my budgeting plan, I have $0 left over. I'm going to show you a model budget so that you can implement it for yourself. And I'll have this linked down below in the description so that you can download it and use it for yourself. So what I like to do is I like to separate my budget into different things. So fixed expenses, my variables, obviously things that change, debt payments, any subscriptions that I may have, business expenses, which are really important to me, and any savings goal I may add. And at the end here where it says extra, it should add up to $0 depending on the amount that I have budgeted for. So what I do is I take my paycheck and any extra money that I might have, I should say, and I add them in this section. So for example, I do this trick called reverse engineering, and I mentioned it kind of in the intro. The way reverse engineering works for me, instead of saying with this $3,000 check, here's what I'm going to do. No, what I do is I need to make $3,000 so that I can pay all of these things on it. So that's how I reverse engineer that. And what I do is once I receive my actual amount, and the number is different because it clearly always is. This is what I estimate, and then this would be exactly what I get. So for example, in this particular paycheck, I got 3150 instead of the 3000 because I never accounted for any overtime differential pay. I include any other budget. So if I'm getting affiliate marketing or a Google paycheck or whatever the case is, I'll add it to this section. For this particular month, I only got $50, which is perfectly in par with what I get basically once a month, and then the other month I'll get a different amount. But anything other than my regular paycheck goes in the other section. If you wanted to separate that and add, like, let's say this was YouTube, then you have another one for affiliate marketing or whatever your business, then just come in here. You would highlight the whole line like this, and then you just simply insert a new row, and it'll tell you to shift cells right or up and down. So you're going to shift your cell down and you're going to add that amount there, whatever it is. When I generally do my fixed expenses, I usually pay my rent, obviously, on the second week or the last paycheck of that month. So again, this is week 2, this is week 1, this is week 2. Now, what happens when I get an extra week within sometimes some pay periods, you'll get 3 paychecks in 1 month. What I'll do is I'll just add one of these sections and I'll copy it over on the other side. So for this example, we're going to keep that rent on the second paycheck. So we'll keep it on the week 2, and then we'll work with everything on week 1. So I'm just going to go down the line and start plugging numbers in. So the rent is empty because this gets paid on this check. So anything that doesn't have any dollar amounts in it is because it gets paid on the previous check. So the internet, we're going to do 70. Herbalife is, I believe it's $25. My Sprint. And you can name this obviously a more generic. You may write mobile or cell phone bill. I just write Sprint because that's the name of the company that I'm with. Then I'll do my electrical. Usually I estimate this because it's fixed expenses, but it also varies on how much I use the electricity basically. So I usually do around $80 for that. My renter's insurance is $13. And then my emergency fund is always $120. Those are my fixed expenses. Now here is where I'm going to write the date. So for my internet, it's going to be due 1/7. Herbalife is due 1/11. Sprint is due 1/22, I believe. And even though I can potentially pay this on the next check, because my first check would be January 7th, I put it there because I still want to pay it before this check. So I write the date there. My electric is 1/8. My renter's insurance is 1/12. And then obviously this is an emergency fund, which is my savings for my emergency. And so that doesn't get really a date because it's not really due on any date. And then here, once I pay off any of these things, I come in here into the little bar and I'll just put whether it's auto pay, saved, or paid. And that's once these things come up. So once I get paid, then I'll change all these statuses over to their respective status, basically. So in this particular case, these are things that change. So obviously I was doing some shopping for Christmas. I'm no longer shopping for Christmas. I'm going to remove that and just put shopping because who doesn't love to shop? So this is what I do. I do all my fixed expenses first. My variables, I leave for last because some of these things change and some of these things are going to depend on how much money I really have left over. So now for debt payment. So my Capital One is, I usually do a $50 amount. My Quicksilver, which is another credit card, I usually do, in this case, 100 because I use my Quicksilver gives me rewards for spending on it. So when I spend on it, I pay it off the next check so I can get those rewards, and I can also accrue those rewards, but I can keep a good credit history. There you go, history. With Chase, I put a little bit more so that I can keep a good credit history depending on what I purchased the previous month. My Chase, I'm almost done. This was a huge debt for me, and now I'm almost done with it. So what I do is I pay this, I think the minimum payment right now is like $15, but I pay $100 on it. because this one actually I'm almost there to the finish line. So I think I have like $345. So I just love to see those numbers kind of climb down. And this was, to be completely transparent, this was an almost $6,000 balance that I've managed to bring down to, again, $345. So that momentum, that feeling of that is amazing. So I do that. Then I do pay a credit card for my mom as well. And I usually do $130 for that. I have in a 401k loan, so I'll put $48 for that. Credit One is a card that I got to when I was building my credit, so I don't really use it because I can't stand it. I don't ever owe anything to them. If I do, I usually, like I said before, I'll pay it off right away just to kind of keep the credit history open with that card. Because as you know, if you don't use your card, they'll actually close it. So I'll just keep it open like once every 3 months or maybe 2 months. I'll buy something and then I'll just pay it off. So at this moment, I owe nothing to them. So I'm going to actually delete the dollar amount. For the IRS, I am on a payment plan with them as well. So I have to pay them $25. And then this would be, even though it says after pay, this would be any miscellaneous. And then right now I do owe Affirm, which is kind of like a payment plan thing. And this is for a big purchase that I made. So I'm going to put that I owe them $149. And then you'll start to see that I start to change some of these numbers, especially in the debt and then in the variable section. So my subscriptions: Netflix, $10, Amazon is $12, which is Amazon Prime. I usually put $13. So I round up everything. If it's going to be $12.98, I round it up to $13 because I have this app called Capital that actually keeps the change of any transaction that I make and dumps it into different sinking funds. And we'll talk more about that maybe in another video. If you want to know more about how I do my sinking funds, just let me know in a comment below. And so Disney, I don't even remember how much is Disney. I'll put 8. HBO Max. So I have a HBO Max and I share it with someone. So I usually, it's $16, but I'll do like 9. Spotify is 14. No, it's not. Spotify is $10. My HP Ink provides me ink every month. It's $3. iCloud storage is 3. Microsoft Office, I believe, is 7. My Hulu is 14. So those are kind of things that don't really change unless I cancel the plan. So that's always there. Now my business expenses are super important to me. So I have two. I have a members area and then I have just my regular website, my e-commerce site. So that's going to be 30. My Google email is 6. My Canva is 12. No, it's not. I think it's 13. My TubeBuddy is $5. Calendly, I paid for the year, so I don't have to pay that in a while, so I'll remove that amount. My Filmora is $10. And then, now this is my savings goal. Any savings goals that I have, this is where I kind of put the rest of my money. My savings goals and my debt are where I put the most money in. And again, I'm going to play with these numbers right on screen so you'll see. So my slush fund will be like $15. It depends on what I want to purchase. I might change the amount. My home ownership, I usually do 100. My family, which is just my regular savings, is 100. My taxes are 40. So this gym challenge here is this unique thing that I have going on as a reward system for myself for working out. So when I first started working out, I needed to get up at least 10 minutes a day, 10 to 15, and then I increased the amount in order for me to push myself to make it to 30 minutes, which in hindsight doesn't seem like a lot, right? But when you're first starting out or starting to get back into workout, it may seem like a lot. So this is not about motivation, but when you start something, just start off small and then push yourself to get there. So one of the things I really love to do is eating out and trying new restaurants and just like going places in my own city. I mean, I live in Florida, so there's so many things to do and go and see and eat and all of that. So I really enjoy that. And that's one of the things I never wanted to cut off my budget, but I found a unique way to save for that, plus motivate myself to work out. So what I ended up doing is I use Capital, and I'll show it on the screen now. I'll put it on the side. What I do now is I reward myself, or I started with rewarding myself to get to 30 minutes. So anytime my workouts went 30 minutes or over, I would give myself $5. So for this week, it actually moved up to 40 minutes. So then what I do here is in this challenge is going to be If I work out 5 times a week, that's 5 times. So at least I know that even though it's coming out of my money, at least I know I've allotted for that sinking fund. And then capital, I usually just do another 40 because again, it takes the change from everything that I've accumulated. So what I want you to see now is my bi-weekly totals with everything that I've added up or added to the budget here. Everything I've added to this budget only added to $2,068, which means I have $1,132 that I need to do something with. I cannot have extra money because that's when you get to overspend, which is why for me it works to do a zero-based balance. I need to start putting that in. So what I goal now is to my variables, things that change. So groceries are super important. So I'm going to do $200 because I can afford $200. So my gym is $22. My L-Vest, which is my investment, instead of putting $30, which is usually what I put, I'll do $60 this time. And then Green Chef right now I'm not doing, so I'm actually going to X that out. And I'm actually going to start HelloFresh because I've heard they have better things. And then home is anything that I want to buy for the house. So if I was eyeing a couch or whatever, or some house decor, especially now that Christmas is over, or I need things for the house like detergent or whatever. So I give myself usually a budget of 100. Now, if I don't waste the entire 100, I'll actually add it to my slush fund, my sinking fund, where I can buy pretty much whatever I want, or I can add that same amount over to the next home. So if next week I decide to give myself another 100, if I have $50 left from here, I just do 150. Or like I said, I'll add it to one of my savings goals. Still have 750. So we're looking good here still. I still have about 2 categories that I can put in: shopping and outing. Again, I'm not doing Green Chef. So for shopping and outing, I can put in money. But before I do that, because it's super important for me to two things, right? Pay off debt and save. So I'm going to say I'm going to go off to the pay off debt first now. So for my Chase that I want to pay off, that I said I only had $345, maybe I'll bump this to 200. And I'll go ahead and let's bump this to 300 because again, I have it. And then let's bring this up to 100 and then this to 150. So now I'm going to check my total. So I'm going to go back and I still have $399 to work with. So for my slush fund here, I'm going to double that and I'm going to add 30. I'm going to do 150 for this. I'm going to do 150 for that. I'll keep the taxes the same because everything gets rounded off for me anyway. I'll do the gym challenge the same because it's only $5. For the taxes, I'll do $60. And then I'll keep capital the same because everything gets rounded. I've already rounded everything off to the nearest dollar anyway, so I don't need as much for my capital. So what I do now, I still have $264. So again, I could do one or two things: go back and play with the pay off debt section or add more money to the goals. But let's say this week I'm thinking of hanging out. So again, I have $264. So I will add $200 to the outing and add for shopping. So I don't think I'm going to shop for anything. So what I'll do is I'll add $64 to home. So if I need to buy anything, like again, detergent, paper, whatever, home decor, all of that stuff goes under home. So now I have $164. Now if you scroll down to how much extra I have, now I have nothing. So that's really the basis of a zero-based budget and how I allocate every single penny to a category and kind of play with the numbers. Now, I am very strict when it comes to my budget. I keep myself in check when it comes to these things. So again, I'll go down the line with the debt thing and put it in the due date. So this one is 1/7. This one is 1/7 as well, etc. So I'll do that, go down the line. And once it gets paid, I will come here and I'll do, let's say, emergency fund. This gets auto paid or saved. So I'll just put saved. Then I'll do, let's say, like Netflix. Netflix is auto pay. Amazon is auto pay. Disney is auto pay, etc. And then you really start to see when you do it this way and you really sit down to work on your budget, you really see where your money's going and what you're paying for. Like I have 9 subscriptions. Some of them are super important, some of them not so much, like Disney Plus. Amazon I love, so that's not, and then HBO Max I share with someone, but like and Netflix and Spotify, I can do without, but because I work as hard as I do, I don't feel like I should. So basically, that's how I justified what I do. So you justify it the way you want to, and you do what you need to do with your money. Don't let anyone tell you, wow, whatever. So that is the budget. Now I do have a savings tracker. So I like to make my goals. So again, this would be the savings goal. These are my targets, and then right here, this is going to tell me how much I have remaining to put in there to reach my target. So what I'll do is I will add anything in January, February, March, April, May, June, or whatever, and then we'll add it up. It'll add it up here for me, and it'll tell me how much I have remaining to save for that goal. So I just break everything up within regular savings, vacations, big purchases, and any sinking funds that I want to go ahead and do. So that is that. Now, whenever I get extra money, like bonuses from my job, or like I said, a bonus from my job or anything else, I actually do the same thing. And my main two focuses in life is to pay off debt and my savings goals. So this should actually be called savings goal, not sinking funds. I'll do that, and then I'll add any extra money that I have. I will add it to these things. And again, I need to see a zero balance because I need to know every piece wherever that money is going. I need to know that as well. And one last thing I want to show you is there's a lot of people that do a 50-20-30 budget, which is 50% are your needs, 20% are for savings, and 30% are your wants. Now, this is a very popular way of doing your budget. It is very simple. However, it doesn't work for me, and it may not work for you, but I did want to include it. And with this, I included what the breakdown is. So for example, if your income a month is $5,000 or $8,000 or whatever your income is, this little calculator will actually break down the amounts that you should have in any one of these things. So for example, if your needs are 50%, and that includes your rent, internet, cell phone, utilities, renter's insurance, paying off debt, any loans you may have, groceries, car note, car insurance, and any business things, these I just put them in here, but these are like business things. Those are called your non-negotiables, your needs. So that would be 50% allocated to that of your total income. So this is calculated with a monthly income in mind. So if your income is $8,000, it'll actually, for your needs, it's going to be $4,000. For your savings, it's going to be $1,600. And for your wants, it's going to be $2,400. And now then you can go ahead and allocate all of that. So for your wants, I would include things like shopping, eating out, entertainment, outings, gyms, any subscriptions you may have, and things like that. And then of course your savings is all of your savings goals. And you can break it up like that, and it'll be kind of easier for you to see your amounts. And once you have it calculated over here, you can add these amounts to here. So for example, if I were to do this, if this was one whole month, let's say this was January, this is February. So if you wanted to do that and you did, again, $8,000, this will actually change to the amount that's needed for you to break up into all of these sections. So your needs will be 4,000, your wants is 2,400, and your savings is 1,600, and it matches exactly what's over here. So you can calculate that. I just wrote a little blurb for you. So needs are those bills that you absolutely must pay and are the things necessary for survival. The needs category does not include items that are extras. Wants are all the things you need to spend money on that are not absolutely essential. Anything in the wants need is optional, basically. And then finally, the last thing is to try to allocate 20% of your net income to savings and investments. You should have at least 3 months of emergency savings on hand in case you lose your job or an unforeseen event occurs, aka COVID. One thing to note is that if emergency funds are ever used, the first allocation of additional income should be to replenish the emergency fund account. So that's super important to always have your emergency fund funded, basically. So that is the 50-20-30 budget. Now, one last thing I did want to show you is that I have a calculator here as well. So anytime you get extra money, let's say coming in, you can disperse this amount into different goals that you may have. So with this little calculator, what I've provided for you is that if you get extra money or things that you may want to do something with and you need to break it up into different things, you would plug in the things that you want to put money towards, and whatever amount that you receive that is considered extra that you do not want to include in your other section here, you can actually calculate that here so that you know where that piece of money is going. So for example, let's say out of nowhere, ooh, that needs to happen in my mailbox today, I get $500, right? So I get $500. Now, I could easily go out and go crazy and buy like all the tech stuff that I want. But if I want to be a little more strategic, a little more intentional with the money I receive, any extra money, let's say that, okay? Extra money. So I know that I'm planning a trip to, let's say, Jamaica. So I can put in $250 to that sinking fund. $50 for that sinking fund, $75 for that sinking fund. So basically these are, again, sinking funds or whatever you want to save it. Now these are broken up by percentages. So we've taken the $500 and we split it into different percentages. So your highest amount is going to get 50%. So 50% of whatever you bring in is going to go to that number one savings goal, that number one sinking fund that you have going on. That's where you want to put the most money into. Your next would be your secondary, which would be 25, and then 15%, and then 10%, and then lastly another 10%, and it all adds up to $500. So again, if you get an extra $100, you can do the same thing, and then you'll have your amount, and then you just go ahead, either take your app or your banking account and just go ahead and transfer these out so that you are intentional with every piece of money that is coming in to you. And I think this is a very, very good way to build up your savings, to build up your sinking funds, to hit your savings goals, hit your money goals, all of that. So this is really super, super intentional. And I've always loved this method. You can also do this with debt. So anytime you get extra money and you want to drop it into debt, so you could do the same exact thing as well. And let's say again, you get $1,000, you know, that first credit card that maybe if you're doing the debt snowball, you're paying the highest balance. So you can go ahead and hit it with 500. That is basically the little calculator that's going to come with this budget form for you. And that's basically it. That is how I reverse engineer my paycheck. And that is how I budget every single last dime of my money and where it goes and how I save. And I hope that you can use it. You can do the exact same things I have. Let me know down below if you want me to do a debt tracker. Just let me know in the comments below and I'll check you out next time. Now, wasn't that simple? I mean, I think it is because I've been using it for forever and it works for me. I've done apps. I've done, even I think the Dame Ramsey has an app. I don't remember. I used to use this other app called Coin something. I don't remember. It was in the app like eons ago. I used to use all these separate apps, and then I came to the realization that the best app that works for me and always has is Excel. And if you have, like, Google Sheets obviously has Excel within its program, so if you don't actually have Microsoft Office Suite, you can actually use Google Sheets. So you can download, I'm going to link the blog post below so that you can go ahead and grab that and make it your own. I also included the savings tracker. I included the bonus section that I showed in the video as well. And I just want you to really start thinking about your money and really start figuring out where it goes. And if you're like me and you want to do that zero-based budget, again, I laid it out simply there for you. Now, I want to say thank you so much for following me on my journey with this channel, for getting me to over 200 subscribers. I'm greatly appreciative of it all. Stick around for more videos on budget, productivity, more tech apps, and pretty soon I am going to be launching a Patreon, and that is to help me elevate these videos to bring you more tech tutorials and things like that. So please stay tuned for that, and please consider joining the Patreon. Once it does open, I will have all the information. Please follow me on my Instagram. That's at Khloé George LLC. And my blog post, I always link all of my other links below. And I will see you again in another video. Oh, make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff if it helped you, if you learned something from it, and if it just made your life a little easier, right? So thank you again, and see you again next time. All of that. I do all of that.